A Chinese guy who thought he was the younger brother of Jesus started a war that lasted over a decade and it killed up to 30 million people, and you've probably never heard of him. This story starts with Hong as a young boy, and life starts out pretty normal for him. He's born to a middle class family as the youngest of three boys. Nothing too eventful happens for most of Hong's early life. He's book smart, enjoys hanging out with friends and family, and he has ambitions to one day pass the civil service exam, which is an exam that, at the time, allowed someone a job with the government. However, despite being a pretty brainy guy, Hong had serious performance anxiety. He would constantly shit the bed when put on the spot, and in 1837, he tries the civil exam for the third time and fails, which leads to a nervous breakdown that leads to him having visions. Hong basically becomes very ill because of the stress of failing the civil exams, and he had some crazy wicked fever dreams. He hallucinated that he traveled to a heavenly land where his father told him that demons invaded the earth and that Hong and his brother had to fight off the demons and destroy the king of hell to save humanity, basically. We only know this because his family was taking care of him while he was sick from stress after failing the exam. And they said that he kept talking about how he was the emperor of China and that he was rambling about demons and a bunch of weird shit. But anyways, he woke up and he told his family about the dreams he had, and he copied down poems that he had written in heaven, and then he kind of forgot about the entire incident for a while. But then one day, somehow Hong got a hold of Christian literature, and he started reading it, and it changed his entire outlook on China. He started to believe that the Father in heaven from his weird fever dreams was God, and that the brother he was fighting the demons in his dreams with was Jesus, and the king of Qing dynasty was the serpent from the Garden of Eden. But funny enough, nothing really happens after this. Hong goes back to completely normal life working on his family farm, until 6 years later in 1843, when Hong gains the courage to take the civil exam once again, but fails the exam again, and this leads to a mental spiral. But then, Hong remembers the Christian literature he had received some time ago, and finally has a revelation, leading him to believe that the visions he had when he was sick was obviously God telling him that, hey, remember, you're Jesus' brother. You're not meant to pass this civil exam. You need to rid demons on this earth. So Hong tells his cousin about the connections he just made between the Bible and his fever dream, and his cousin, who is clearly equally as nuts as Hong, goes, yeah, that makes sense. So they both agree that they need to save this world, and in order to do it, we need humongous weapons. So they get a custom 3.3 foot and 10-pound sword forged and nickname them the demon-slaying swords. So yeah, Hong goes about life with his demon-slaying sword and thinking he is the Chinese brother of Jesus. Hong starts preaching about things like shared property and religious values like the Ten Commandments, and this kind of thing got him a following, because thousands of people wanted free property, so, why not listen to the guy proposing that? Hong gained a lot of followers going around and preaching and talking about certain values and fighting against the demons. Then Hong starts burning all non-Christian related monuments and books in his house and neighborhood, and he starts preaching about the visions he had to his community. In the beginning, not too many people were joining his movement, but then people who found out he also had failed the civil service exams joined him in solidarity, I guess. He starts getting a bit of clout in China at this point, and some American missionary goes, hey, I like this guy pushing Christian morals. Let me invite him to study the Bible with me. Hong loved the experience so much that he requested the missionary to baptize him, which he didn't want to do, presumably because Hong was absolutely nuts and pulled up to Bible studies with a demon-slaying sword. Hong then flips the table, says, nah, I'm not with this, and leaves. Assuming that Hong had a particularly bad day at this point, because not only did he just get denied baptism, but on the way to meet his cousin, he got robbed of his demon-slaying sword. Hong and his cousin eventually make it back to their town, and in their absence, two guys named Yang and Zhao had been leading the god worshippers, which is what Hong's followers were called. The way they did this was they convinced all the followers that, hey, we can enter a trance and speak to Jesus and God. Hong and his cousin investigated these claims and told everyone that, yeah, no, it's true, they can do this. They can speak to Jesus and God. Hong and his cousin then go around with their followers and travel China, getting more and more followers, and by 1850, It's estimated that they had up to 30,000 followers, which is crazy because this is all riding on the back of failed exams and fever dreams. But now this is when it starts getting crazy, because up until now, Hong hasn't really done anything crazy other than gain followers. But in 1851, authorities alarmed the Qing dynasty that there's this guy called Hong and he's gaining popularity quick. What should we do? So the Qing dynasty tells them, go kill them, end their silly little game. So at one point, Hong is chilling with his followers in the town of Jinqing, and then they get ambushed by government officials. But they turn it around, and Hong, despite all odds, comes out victorious, and him and the god worshippers just defeated the Qing dynasty. This really pisses Hong off, though, because he hadn't done anything but gain followers until then. But he remembers, oh yeah, the Qing dynasty are demons. So he decides to take over Nanjing, a massive city, and he declares it the capital of his China. For a few years now, Hong spends time gaining an army of over 2 million men, and he becomes a legitimate threat to the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty had enough of Hong at this point, so they declared full-out war against him. And for the next 14 years, a full-out civil war broke out, which claimed the lives of up to 30 million people. Things eventually got so bad that the Qing dynasty had to get the help of the British and French army. Eventually, Hong starts losing the war and his city gets surrounded by the British, French, and Qing dynasty, which then leads Hong to eat poison. Nanjing was basically starved out while being surrounded, but before they could get to Hong, he went to be with his brother, Jesus. And that, everyone, was the story of Jesus' Chinese brother who gained millions of followers off a fever dream. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.